So observe very carefully. This is what we already studied, the separation by centrifugation. So the centrifugation is the a method for separating the suspended particles of a substance from a liquid in which the mixture is rotated at a high speed in a mission called as, what is the mission of centrifuge mission? Everybody, what is the mission? Centrifuge mission. That the mission centrifugation is done by centrifuge mission. Is it yes or no, guys? So inside this mixture, whatever it is present, we people will keep it in a containers called as centrifuge containers, so that we will run it very fastly, we will rotate it very fastly. That rotation only we used to called as spinning, or we can say past tense spun, so that it is used to produce all the impurities will be settled down and the pure liquid will come up. Even last class I have shown you the image of blood. So if we'll spin the blood in the centrifuge machine, so all the particles of blood will settle down and the plasma alone will stay up. Is it yes or no, guys? Yes. Now that is what the meaning. So and also I have given you the all the principle of working principle of centrifuge. So what is the use of centrifuge? Anybody can tell me? Centrifuge is used for what?
Separate suspended solid particles, sir.
Suspended solid particles from a liquid. Suspended solid particles from a liquid very quickly. So that is what we can use. So now if it comes to the daily life, we can use this centrifuge in like separation of cream from milk. So if you want to separate the cream, you might be see. Have you noticed when you are buying the milk packet, you can ask Mr. Reddy, everybody, you can see cream or uncreamed milk. Have you noticed it? Cream milk or uncreamed milk, they like that they will sell cream milk and uncreamed milk like 1 or 2 rupees difference will be there. Yes, Mr. Everyone? All of you? So that is what. So separation of cream from milk, like you can see before selling. So they used to separate the cream. That is what we can say like venna or something. That is what from the curd will prepare. But from the milk itself, they will separate all the kind of cream from milk with the help of what mission? With the help of process called as, what is the process we can say? Yes, please, everyone. That is only called as centrifugation. So with the help of centrifugation only, all the milk industries or pasteurization industries, they'll separate the cream from milk. So now, sir, how it will do? The same thing. If you'll visit any kind of milk industries, understand? So they'll be having a big sized centrifuge where like thousands of milk can be centrifuged at a time. So very heavy, big size. So this milk is actually, what is the milk? Milk will come under what? Solution or suspension or it is a solvent. What is that? The solution, suspension or collide? What is that? Milk. Milk is a what, guys? It's a colloidal substance. Yes or no? So it is a colloidal substance. So it is having a suspension of tiny droplets of like a cream in a watery liquid. That is what you have to remember. So that cream only we can say like oil. Understanding oil or cream is present in watery liquid. Watery liquid. Now, with the help of, it will never settle down or it will never come up. So with the help of centrifuge, you can see the process of centrifugation is used in all the dairy farms to separate cream from milk. Do you understand, all of you? Please respond. So all the dairies you can see. So wherever you are having a dairies, so all the dairies means what? Writing dairies or milk dairies. Okay. So everywhere they will use centrifugation process to separate the cream from milk. So then what they will do means here. So they will, milk is put in a closed container in a big centrifuge machine. The machines will be very, very heavy and they will take a big centrifuge tubes where thousands of liters at a time can be centrifuged, and they'll keep inside the centrifuge machine and they will rotate very, very fastly with high rotation so that all the cream particles, they will be settled. They will be, like you can see, all the milk will be separated down so that the cream will separate out from the milk. So that is why as we know that cream is lighter or heavy, Mithakshri, cream is lighter or heavy? Is it light or heavy? Please respond. Lightweight or heavyweight? That is what I am asking. Mr. Hari?
Lightweight, sir.
Lightweight. So when the particles will sink and when the particles will float, anybody can tell me? Suppose I will keep the stone inside the water. Stone will sink. Why the stone will sink? Because it is a heavy. Yes or no? So the same way, if you are doing the centrifugation, as I told you in the last class, if it is the light particles, they all will come to the up. If it is the heavy particles, they all will settle. They all will settle where? Open your mouth.
Down.
They all will settle down. So, as we know, if you will rotate it very fastly with a high speed, so all the cream particles will separate out from the milk, so that the cream particle is lighter, so that they will come to the top or they will go to the bottom. Everybody. Yes.
Sir.
That is what. So, the cream being lighter, it will float over the milk. So the milk which we are separating the cream is called as skimmed milk. What we used to call? Which we are separating after separating the cream, we used to call it as skimmed milk. So once the cream is separated out from the skimmed milk, it will float on the surface of the skimmed milk as it being lighter. Do you understand, Reddy? Kaushik? Everyone? So this is what the process will use. Centrifugation is the method to use separate the suspended particles from a liquid. And also see real life applications also you can see, all of you. So the centrifugation is using in washing machines also. Can you tell me how it will be using washing machines? Yes, anybody? So washing machines we are using this centrifugation technique. How it is? Anybody can tell? Where we are using?
Because it is shaking, sir.
Yes, shaking, not
Continuously.
squeezing. Have you noticed it? If you have been done,
Yes, sir.
yes. If you have been done that after washing, if you will keep it for drying. Now, a machine itself will be, nowadays a washing machine itself, they will wash and they will dry. Do you all notice or not? Yes or no? So now washing machines, they'll be having a fast
sir.
rotating fans. They'll be having a fast rotating fans. So what the fans will do, when they are rotating very fastly, they will squeeze the cloth. Is it yes or no, Harish? Squeezing the cloths. Which cloths? They will squeeze the wet cloth so that all the water droplets will come out. So what will happen? The cloth will become dry. So that is what you have to remember. So washing machines to squeeze out water from wet cloths and make them dry. Are you understand, Amma? Please respond. Everybody? Yes?
Yes, sir.
That is what you have to
Yes,
remember.
sir.
So we will use the filtration and as well as centrifugation to separate soluble substances or insoluble substances. Everyone? Insoluble solid substance from a liquid. That is what you have to remember. And also you remember, as I told you, blood. If you want to identify the drugs percentage, do you understand, everyone? So drugs percentage in blood, we'll use which method? Everybody? We'll use a method called as what method? Centrifugation. That is why centrifugation and as well as if the particles are very small, they are suspended, then we will go with the centrifugation. If the particles are quite enough large, then we will go with the easily. What method? Filtration. But both the techniques, centrifugation and filtration, we can use it only insoluble solid in what, guys? Insoluble solid is in what?
Liquid.
Is in liquid. So this is the two techniques we can use it to separate insoluble solid in liquid. So in exam they will ask you, what is the separation techniques used to separate the insoluble solid from the liquid? So what is the two separation techniques? Insoluble solids, everybody? Yes, please.
Filtration and centrifugation.
That is what? Filtration. And another one is what? Centrifugation. But centrifugation for small particles and big size particles are there. If particle size are enough, then we will go with the what? We'll go with the filtration. I understand everyone? Clear, Amma? Any doubt? Please respond. Neha, Harish, Kumar, Harini. This is what it is. So all of you should remember. So what is the working principle of centrifugation? Everybody? Spinning. Okay. So now you can see if the solid is dissolved, then we cannot separate the dissolved solid from a liquid by using filtration and centrifugation. Yes or no? Is it possible to separate? Everybody? Is it possible to separate? So that is why if you want to dissolve, if you want to separate a dissolved solid from a liquid, then it will be used by different techniques. So that is what we are going to study now. So what is the separation techniques to separate dissolved solid from liquid? Anybody can tell me? Dissolved solid from liquid. So what is the techniques we can use, guys? Everyone, remaining all the techniques we have, you should tell me what are the techniques. That is what? By evaporation. Next one by crystallization, and the next one by what? Chromatography. Understanding? So next one, last one is called as distillation. So these are the techniques which we are going to use. Understand? To separate what, guys? Anybody can tell me? To separate what?
Dissolved solid from liquid.
Separate soluble solid or dissolved solid. Please remember, dissolved or soluble solid from liquid. So that is what. So these three things is for PT2. The distillation is not there for PT2. We'll study that later. So chromatography, crystallization, and evaporation. So this is all not new things for us. So we people will study now one by one. So evaporation, crystallization, the similar process, but chromatography is alone little different. Now evaporation. So evaporation means basically we people knows what is the general evaporation method. Everyone, what do you mean by evaporation? Converting liquid state to gaseous state. Is it yes or no? So that is what we used to call as evaporation. Yes or no, guys? Please respond. Yes. That is what. So let us understand what do you mean by this evaporation. So what kind of substances we can separate with the help of this evaporation. That is all we'll discuss. So now please all of you keep heading. Separation by evaporation. Separation. Separation by evaporation. Shall we start, Mitakshri? That is. So do you all people knows already? What do you mean by evaporation? Converting liquid state into what state? Liquid state into gaseous state is only called as evaporation. So remember, the changing of liquid into a vapors or gas is only called as evaporation. So evaporation is used to separate a solid substance that is dissolved in water or any other liquid. So remember, if any solid is dissolved in water or any other liquid, then which method will prefer? Then evaporation is the one of the separation technique which we people use to separate. Do you understand, everybody? Yes, please. Now, observe very carefully. If the dissolved solid substance is left as a solid, then the liquid has evaporated. So if we'll take, for example, I have a sugar solution. I have a what solution, guys? Sugar solution. Now, first of all, I want to know how many of you know evaporation is a natural process or man-made process? Evaporation.
Natural process.
Natural process. Do you understand? Is it a slow process or fast process? Is it a slow or fast process? It is a natural process and is very, very slow. It is taking place by atmospheric temperature. Do you understand it? So surrounding heat only, atmospheric temperature is only causing to evaporate or changing liquid state to gaseous state. So that is what we used to call as evaporation. So evaporation, man-made process we used to call as boiling. So boiling is the man-made process, but we are not studying about boiling. What we are studying? We're studying about what, guys? Akilan, Arun Kailash? Evaporation. So evaporation is a natural process. Now, if I'll take sugar solution, so let me take, this is what my sugar solution. Now, after evaporating of water, something is left down. What is that called as? Anybody can tell me? What is that? Some solid will be
Residue.
left behind. Yes, everyone. Try to communicate.
Residue.
What we can say sugar particles. Yes or no, ma? Yes, everybody. So this, after evaporation of liquid or water, the solid particles which are suspended, that is what we used to call as residue. What we used to call, everybody? What we used to call? Residue. Once the solid substance is left as a, the liquid, the solid is left as a solid substance, then that is what we used to call as residue once all the liquid will evaporated. That is why the use of process of evaporation for separating a mixture is based on the fact that liquids vaporize easily, whereas solids do not vaporize easily. That is what you have to remember. So all the solids will never be solids. Do you remember? For example, if I take carbon dioxide as a solid, what is called as carbon dioxide in solid state? We used to call something. Yes, please. Anybody?
Dry
Ice. What we used to call dry ice. Now, is it possible to make the dry ice in a solid state? Whenever I expose, immediately it will convert into what state? It will be converting into what state? It will be converting into gaseous state. So that is why to separate out, we'll use some other technique. What is that we'll use? Separating directly from gas, solid to gas. Solid to gas. What technique will you use?
Sublimation.
Sublimation. So you have to remember that in this evaporation process, liquids must evaporate quickly. Liquids must evaporate, but who does not evaporate? Liquids must evaporate, but solids do not vaporize easily. Please remember, but solids do not vaporize easily. Then only which technique we can use? Please respond. Which technique we can use? We can use only evaporation. So evaporation also we cannot use it for all the solids dissolved in liquids. What kind of solids dissolved in liquids? The solids which do not vaporize easily, but liquid must evaporate. Understand, Mr. Omar, Harish, everybody? All of you?
Yes, sir.
When we can use evaporation technique? Only when the liquid can evaporate or vaporize easily, but the solids do not vaporize easily. Is it okay, ma? Everyone? So, evaporation of a liquid can take place even at the room temperature, means very, very low temperatures also. But you can see evaporation can be made quicker by heating the solution. That is what I said the process called as. If you are heating the evaporation, then what is that called as? If we are heating, then that is what is the process called as? Everybody? Boiling. Others don't know. If you are heating, then that process is called as what? Boiling. So basically evaporation will take place at all the temperatures. That is what even at room temperature also evaporation will take place. But if you want to increase the rate of evaporation, you can use the additional heat also. So that is what you have to remember. So if you take the mixtures commonly like salt water and sugar water and all, so shall we separate it by filtration and centrifugation? Shall we separate by filtration and centrifugation? Salt water? Yes, please. Salt water. Is it possible to separate the salt from water by filtration and centrifugation? I am asking.
No, sir.
No. So which technique we have to use? Salt water. Which technique we have to use? We have to use the
Evaporation.
evaporation to separate salt from water. Salt from water. So here water can evaporate, but salt is a solid which do not vaporize easily. So that we can go with the evaporation technique. Is it yes or no? So that is why you can see the common salt is obtaining from the ocean water. What is that separation technique they will use? Obtaining salt from ocean water. Which technique they will use? Yes,
Evaporation.
evaporation technique only. Now, as I told you, if you want to increase the evaporation, so you can add additional heat or not? We can add the heat or not? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, if you want to test this evaporation process in our chemistry lab, you can take the one China dish or Petri dish and pour the salt water. Pour the what? Pour the salt water. You can see a solution of common salt and water I am taking in the Petri dish or China dish. Now, what I'm going to do, I am going to heat it slowly with the help of burner. Now you can see here, all of you, I'm going to heat it slowly with the help of burner. So what is this fumes called as? Anybody can tell? What is this fumes lines? That is what water is evaporating, liquid is evaporating. So that after certain time, if you are keep on heating, so once the water will completely evaporate, some solid substance is left at the bottom of the China dish. So this is only what we used to call, everyone. What is this called as? Common salt is left behind. So this is what the evaporation process which we people will do even to separate a process of evaporation is used on a large scale to obtain the common salt from seawater. So that is why you can see salt cannot be obtained in any other manner in a large quantity. So that is why we will use always evaporation technique to get huge amount of salt from the ocean water or sea water. Are you understand everyone? Yes, please, all of you. Nobody?
Yes,
Now observe very carefully. I will show you the real evaporation process image where you obtain the salt. Once if you are heated, you can try in your home also. You can dissolve the salt in water and
With the help of ink, we can try, sir.
yes, you can heat in the presence of your parents and you can see, you can observe the salt is obtained at the walls of the Petri dish or China dish. Have you noticed it in this picture, everybody? This is the real experiment where we have been done. So once the water is evaporated fully, understanding. So what is left behind are the walls of the container. You can see here. What is left? Salt is left behind. Do you notice it? Yes, please respond, guys. Salt is left behind. So this is how we people can obtain the salt from seawater in a extremely large scale. In a what? Extremely large scale. Understand, Mitakshri? Harini? Yes?
Yes, sir.
With the same evaporation technique, we can use to separate soluble solids. All of you remember, evaporation is used for recovering soluble solids or dissolved solid substances from liquid mixture, but liquid itself cannot be recovered. Do you notice that? Hurry, everyone. What is the disadvantage of evaporation? Anybody can tell me, Omar? I am evaporating the liquid, but is it liquid is recovered? Is liquid is recovered? That is what I am asking. Is liquid is recovered? Is not recovered. It is entering into gaseous state, but only solid is recovered. That is what you have to remember. Dissolved solid. Dissolved solid is recovered, but who is not recovered? Who is not recovered?
Sugar.
Liquid. Liquid is not recovered in evaporation process because we are simply vaporizing. Yes or no? Yes, please respond. We are simply vaporizing so that it is not possible to recover the liquid, but we can recover what? Only we can recover the dissolved solid. So that is what the disadvantage of evaporation. So all should know with the help of evaporation, only we can get what? We can get the solid, but we cannot recover the liquid. So liquid will simply vaporize and will mix with air. So that is what this point. So all of you should note it down. All of you should remember, evaporation is used for recovering dissolved solid substances from liquid mixtures, but the liquid itself cannot be recovered by this method. So that is why liquid vaporizes and get lost to the air. Understand everyone? Omar, Akilan, Arun Kailash. So is it possible to recover the liquid by evaporation technique? Is it possible to recover the liquid by evaporation? All of you?
No, sir.
No. So that is why. Now let me see how many of you are smart. If I want to recover this liquid back, then what technique I have to use? Anybody? If I want to recover this liquid back, yes, please. Yes, please.
Condensation.
I want to use, very good. I want to use condensation. Understanding? So evaporation followed by what?
Condensation.
Evaporation followed by condensation. Then I can obtain liquid vapor or the vapors also. I can condense back into again liquid and I can store it. That is what it is. So that is why evaporation is used for only recovering dissolved solid substances from liquid mixture, not the obtaining liquid substances separately. Understand everyone? Yes, please respond, guys. So that is why you can see whatever the dissolved substances are present, we people can obtain by using evaporation technique. So you can see the ink. That is what in our textbook also they have given. So obtaining the dye from the ink or blue ink or black ink, whatever it is, which we are using in fountain pens. Ready? Do you all know fountain pens? You all people are using fountain pens only. Yes or no? Yes, please. So fountain pens, ink pens, yeah. Do you all using ink pens or not?
Yes, sir.
So if you are having a blue ink or black ink, whatever it is, no matters. So it is a mixture of dye you people can take. So basically a dye in water. So if you take the ink, blue ink or black ink, whatever it is, which we are using in fountain pens. So what is this, guys? It is a mixture of dye. What do you mean by dye? Anybody can tell me? Dye in water. Dye in water. So ink is a what? It is a mixture of dye in water. What do you mean by dye? I want to know. How many of you know dye? Dye means what? What do you mean by dye? Dye means what? Nobody will say that. What is this? What do you mean by dye?
Color, sir.
Dye means color. Do you understand? Remember. So we can separate the colored component of ink or dye from ink by the process of what? Yes, please. By the process of evaporation. We can separate out colored, please write, colored component of ink, or dye from ink by the process of evaporation. Understand everyone? So let us take how we can evaporate and how we can obtain. But you can notice it here. Is it possible to heat the ink directly in this case? Anybody can tell me? Directly I will take in China dish and I will heat it. Is it possible to obtain the ink? Yes, please. All of you. You all studied correct. Anybody? Keep heading now. Experiment to obtain colored component from the ink. Experiment to obtain colored substance. What do you mean by colored substance? Anybody? Dye colored substance from ink. Shall we start now? Are you ready? Yes, Akilan, Arun Kailash, Johan. So now, colored substance. What do you mean by colored substance? That is what dye we used to say. Now, As we know that evaporation means what we'll take the solution in the beaker and we'll start heating it so that liquids will evaporate so that solid will be remaining. Is it yes or no? That is what we people are planning. Yes, please. Yes. Nobody will answer.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but if it comes to the ink, now I will take the ink in the China dish or petri dish. This is what my China dish. I will take the ink. What is this, Mr. Reddy? Let me take this is the blue ink. What is this ink? Blue ink. Now, is it possible to heat this ink directly or we have to heat indirectly? That is what my question. Anybody can answer? Mitakshri? Is it we can heat it directly or indirectly? If we heat directly, what will happen? Why we need to heat indirectly? Observe very carefully. If we are heating directly this ink, understanding, so we cannot obtain the colored substance. We cannot obtain the dye because it will be, understanding, over fried. Like we can say, water will evaporate very fastly and the dye which is present, it will be fried, understanding, fried in the sense of it will be turns into black ash. It will turns into what, guys? It will turns into what? Ash. Understand? So it is not the color which we are obtaining. That is why when we are obtaining the color substance from the ink, we should not heat directly. We should not heat directly. Do you understand, Mr. Hari? Reddy? We should not heat directly. So we have to heat how, guys? We have to heat indirectly. Do you understand, everyone? So how we can heat indirectly means, first we have to take the water boiler. We have to heat the water boiler. Then above that, we have to keep the China dish which contains the ink. Now, observe very carefully. This is how indirectly we have to heat it. Hope everybody can understand. So we should not heat the China dish which contains the ink directly. We have to heat what? Everybody? We have to heat the boiling water. Do you understanding? Water boiler we can say. So we are heating the water boiler. It will produces the fumes or steam. So that steam will try to evaporate the liquid from the ink so that it will never be turned into ash. It will be obtaining the dye which was present in the ink after the evaporation. Are you understand, Mitakshri? Why we should Gokul? Why we should heat indirect heating instead of direct heating? Because if we'll heat directly, then it will be turns into ash. It will turns into ash. That is why rather than heating direct heating, we have to heat with the help of water boiler so that it can be, understanding, won't form the ash. It will be form the dye which is present inside the ink. Is it okay, guys? Yes, please.
Yes.
Ready?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that is what. So why we should heat indirectly, not directly? If we'll heat directly, it will turns into ash. Understand? Water will evaporate fastly, so that ink will turns into ash. So that is why we have to heat indirectly. Is it okay, everybody? Yes, please. Yes.
Yes.
All of you. That is what you have to.
Sir.
Now, if we'll see it very carefully, let us take in the case of ink or whatever it is, salt from ocean water. Is it the substance which we are obtaining, this one, or salt from ocean water, salt from sea water? After evaporating water, is it the salt will contains impurities or not? That is what my question. Is it contains impurities or not? Anybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So if you will followed by evaporation, technique, along with the products, we'll get what? Along with the products, what we'll get?
Sir.
We'll get what,
Impurity.
guys? Impurities also will be obtained. So that is why not to obtain the impurities, evaporation is a technique which will evaporate the liquid and obtain the solid products. But along with the solid products, we also will obtain the so many impurities. So that is why evaporation is not a suitable technique to obtain the pure substance. So to obtain the pure substance, we'll go with the next type of separation technique. So what is the separation technique? Anybody can tell me? To obtain the pure substance, instead of evaporation, we'll go with the what technique? Everyone? Crystallization. Understand? So that is what is crystallization and how it will be happening. That is all we'll study now. So to obtain the pure solid from a liquid, we will use which technique, guys?
Sir, we done the crystallization in the lab, sir.
Yeah, very good, Omar. That is what. So if you want to obtain the pure solid substance from mixture, we have to go with instead of evaporation, we have to go with which technique? We have to go with which?
Crystallization.